Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to provide an update on the Adass Israel synagogue arson that occurred on Friday in Ripponlea. At the outset, can I say that Victoria Police and I personally condemn the callous and horrific attack, the targeted attack that occurred on that day. Friday, I think it's been widely reported, but we saw an arson occur at a synagogue. We had and have 3 suspects in that matter who we are pursuing. As a result of that arson occurring on Friday, I initially deployed the detective inspector in charge of our arson squad as the person in charge of the investigation, and our crime command as well. We deployed all of the forensic resources you would expect to be there, arson chemists and a range of other assistants. So everything that could and should have been done occurred. We also liaised with our counterparts, ASIO, the Australian Federal Police, and all the agencies you would expect us to liaise with. At that time on Friday, we considered and took advice as to whether that attack met the threshold to be declared a terrorist incident. At that time, the decision was it did not at that stage reach the threshold to be declared such an incident. The investigation has continued on over the weekend and we have made significant progress. I am not, for operational reasons, going to go into any details about the investigation here today, other than I said we have made significant progress. Over the weekend, we have continued to investigate, gain intelligence and evidence, work with our partners, as I said, ASIO, Federal Police, and on Friday we did deploy our counter-terrorism security investigation unit to be a part of this. The detective inspector who's in charge of the arson squad has had previous experience in counter-terrorism investigations through Operation Pendennis, so he is very well versed in what is required here. We've continued to monitor that over the weekend. I have been in touch with the Australian Federal Police Commissioner every day since Friday, and including Friday. I've regularly briefed government to the extent that I can, and we have continued to gather and collect evidence and intelligence. Yesterday morning, myself and Reece Kershaw, the Commissioner, determined that it would be appropriate to hold a joint management committee meeting this morning. That is a strategic group led by Deputy Commissioners from AFP and Victoria Police and the Assistant Commissioners in charge of our counter-terrorism areas, along with ASIO. They were briefed on the extent of the investigation this morning, the evidence that's been gathered and, as I said, the intelligence that has been gained. That Joint Management Committee meeting has recommended that their belief is that this is likely a terrorist incident that has occurred. Based on that advice, we will now transition the investigation under the umbrella of the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team, which is a joint team run by the Australian Federal Police and Victoria Police with expertise in these investigations, and we will continue that investigation. As I said, they will continue to be supported, though, by our arson and explosives detectives and a range of other Victoria Police specialist resources. In terms of the reassurance patrols and for the community, the Jewish community, we have ensured that we have increased police in the areas, increased visibility and making sure we're out and about at synagogues, at other places of worship, at places of significance to the Jewish community. And the investigation will now take its course and will follow where the evidence takes us. I'm happy to answer questions, but first of all, I will call on Chrissy Barrett, Deputy Commissioner from the Australian Federal Police, and then after her, the Premier.
Thank you and good afternoon. I am AFP Deputy Commissioner for National Security, Chrissy Barrett. The decision by the Joint Management Committee today to transition the Adass Israel synagogue fire attack to the Victorian Joint Counter-Terrorism Team is a crucial turning point in this investigation. I want to thank Victoria Police investigators for the significant information they have gathered so far, which has helped lead us to believe that this is likely to be a politically motivated attack. This is now a terrorism investigation led by the Victorian Joint Counter-Terrorism Team, which includes Victoria Police, the AFP and ASIO. Joint counter-terrorism teams include the best terrorism investigators in the country, and a JCTT investigation unlocks more powers, more capability and more intelligence. Since the attack, the AFP, ASIO and Victoria Police have been in regular contact and sharing relevant information. What this means is that now it has been allocated to the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team. We are already well prepared, well briefed and well progressed. Now I want to reinforce a message from the AFP. We have a number of ongoing investigations that relate to prohibited hate symbols, terrorism and foreign interference. Right now, a number of briefs of evidence that relate to prohibited symbols and religiously or ideologically motivated violence have been referred or are close to being referred to the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions. Once the AFP is involved with our partners, the outcome in a majority of occasions is jail time, and often lengthy jail time. As AFP Deputy Commissioner of National Security, I will ensure that every investigation has the right resources to ensure offenders are charged and prosecuted. And I'm going to be blunt. Do not test the resolve or determination of the AFP or our policing and intelligence partners. We will not tolerate crimes that undermine Australia's security or our way of life. Thank you.
Can I start by thanking the hard work, around-the-clock work of Victoria Police and the Australian Federal Police that have brought us to today's declaration that the evil anti-Semitic attack on the Addis Israel Synagogue in the early hours of Friday morning has now been declared a terrorist attack. Can I also note that over the last 72 to 80 hours, police have been working around the clock, gathering the evidence, providing the information and advice that has led us to this point where this incident can now be given this formal declaration. What this means is obviously those additional powers, those additional resources can now be deployed to this investigation, an investigation I know that we all want to see resolved as quickly as possible, but we must let our police officers do the work, the good work that they have been doing to bring us to this point this morning. Can I also reinforce the point that the Chief Commissioner has made around the ongoing increased police presence in and around the communities, particularly around the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. The increased police presence and patrols that were in place over the weekend in both in vehicles and also on foot will continue into the coming days, and the Chief Commissioner is continuing to monitor closely the ongoing need for that increased presence in the local community. Can I also say very clearly that our thoughts again today must be with the Jewish community here in Melbourne, the Jewish community around the Addis Israel Synagogue, the broader Jewish community in Melbourne and indeed across Australia. This has been an awful, evil, anti-Semitic, and now we know has been confirmed as an attack, a terrorist attack. We must remember and continue to hold the community who is grieving, who is suffering in our hearts, and give them all of our support. Certainly that is what I pledge as Premier of Victoria, to give the Jewish community our ongoing support, the practical support, the work to rebuild the synagogue, support the work of Victoria Police and the increased police presence, but also to work to provide that support to a community that is grieving. And also we'll be finding some of this news today, no doubt very, very difficult, but know that we have the resources of the AFP and VicPol to bring to this investigation and to this task. I'll now hand back to the Chief Commissioner.